Hey folks, Quill18 here, and welcome to a kind of tutorial introduction for Europa Universalis 4. This is A Kiss for Luck.
Yes, Ava, hi.
Who has a YouTube channel. There'll be a link down below in the description box, and she loves playing all kinds of strategy games and stuff. And I wanted a bit of an intro to EU4, and I thought, well, what a great excuse to make a kind of more tutorial-y kind of video. And you want to play something kind of different.
Yes.
And you decided that you would like to play as one of the hordes.
Yes.
As you do.
We're going to, England, Portugal.
They've all been done.
I think we should conquer the world by horseback.
Yeah, all right, I like it.
Yeah.
And so playing as the hordes up here would be interesting. We might actually be able to beat up on someone like Muscovy or something like that, but I thought it might be easier to start off with the Timurids and go east. You've got a lot of like broken up little independent nations, and maybe we could create the Mughal Empire, and then swing around into Europe.
So we could take our horses and go east and take Tibet, because I like the dogs there too. There we go.
Oh,
this
just keep
is
going east.
called strategy.
Strategy, yes.
Strategy, yeah.
So this is our known world. So we've heard that there might be this sort of thing called Europe or something over here. Don't really know about it. I don't think it's very important.
I don't think so either.
So one of the interesting things when you're playing as the hordes, as one of the Khanates, you actually start off very, very strong. Now, your tech level, we'll talk about some of these intricacies later on. Wow. You start off with the same technology sort of numbers as everyone, but you've got a lot of innate bonuses. Your cavalry potential is fantastic, especially on the defensive. It's just uncanny.
Nice.
And so you start off with a huge edge. You should be able to crush kind of everyone pretty consistently early on. The big problem, being part of the Nomad tech group, is that your technology costs are extremely high. So eventually Europeans, well, almost everyone in the world, frankly, but especially Europeans that are in the Western tech group, are going to surpass you, because almost everyone in the game has a better technology group than you, except for the Native Americans.
So they'll be coming against my horses with tanks. Is that what I'm hearing?
That sort of thing, yeah.
Oh,
I mean, especially cannons and just better cavalry, better
Okay.
firearms at their infantry. So your game is the early time. And then there is the option of westernizing. If you happen to be neighbored next to someone who is of the Western tech group and is way ahead of you in technology, you have the option of westernizing your nation. But I just did that in my my Poland/Lithuanian Commonwealth game, going from Eastern to Western, which isn't as bad of a tech group. Frankly, in hindsight, maybe I should have stayed Eastern, because it was brutal to make that transition. It was really, really harsh. But, either that or die. I mean, that's what kind of happens to the Ottomans, right? The Ottomans in this state of the game, and again, a good situation, they're a very strong place, but eventually they become known as the sick man of Europe, because they sort of failed to adapt to changing circumstances in technology. And I should move the camera because we're in front of the mini-map.
So we're going to have to take our horses here and at least make them androids or something really early in the game.
I like that idea.
Okay.
So we'll stick ourselves over here in this.
And these are
little tiny
nomadic
screen.
people, so the whole technology thing is going to be a massive upheaval to society.
Yeah, now luckily that doesn't happen until far later. We've got plenty of conquering that we can do before that. So, we're playing as the Timurids.
Let's amass our riches, and then we can blow it all on technology.
All right.
I know nothing about this game, by the way, guys, so if I'm saying things that I'm just making noise here.
So we're a steppe nomad.
Of course.
What that gives us, we get 100% bonus to our national manpower modifier. We'll talk about that, what that means in a second. 100% bonus to our land force limit modifier, and a 50% penalty to better relations over time. We can have huge, massive armies, and people will hate us. Sort of naturally.
That's cool. Okay. We can do that.
Yeah. There's a few other things that are going on, but those are the core ones. The other things in our national ideas here. We'll talk about core creation costs later on. So, Timurids, this is our nation. It is made up of many different provinces. And you've played Crusader Kings a little bit.
That much, yes.
Un petit peu. So, individual provinces all have, their own, little different characteristics in terms of which ones are richer and poorer, and different. Each one can have a culture and a religion. Now, our government religion is Sunni.
Okay.
Now, let's take a look at our religious map mode. Half of our nation is actually Shiite.
Ooh.
Now, there are different degrees of tolerances. So for people who are actually Sunni, we tolerate them very well. In fact, to such a degree that we treat them so well that they would be unlikely to ever have rebellions in Sunni provinces.
Good to hear. Okay.
Now, in Shiite provinces, we're sort of on the down of them, right? We've got a -1 tolerance level. That's actually not too bad. It actually represents being relatively tolerant. We're not generally going to have huge problems with rebellions with them, but, it's certainly not helping.
Okay.
And then we have outright heretics, like Catholics, Orthodox, Buddhist, Hindu, Confucian, and so on and so
Those
forth.
weird people. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we tolerate them far less. So, A, there's more of a chance of rebellion, but also we tend to get less tax revenue out of those provinces, and so on and so forth. Now, we do have one missionary available, and we can try to convert some of these provinces over to the one true faith, Sunni.
Of course.
In this case. And it's probably an okay idea. Technically now, especially with culture groups, and I don't know if there's... Yeah, see, these guys over here are Persian.
Okay.
Persian. I guess that would be all the Persian Shiites, and then we cross the border over here. We get to Khorasani, Sunni. So that's another place where there can be problems. Now, the culture group, at this point, we have enough of both cultures in here. They're both totally green and accepted.
Okay.
Part of the Timurids. If ever they became marginalized, or if we ever, invaded someone else and grabbed some other culture, like if we grab this province here, we got a little bit of Tartar, they would be very marginalized and not supported. You get a lot of rebellion, a lot of things don't work. So you'd have to, you could try to change the culture of the province. It's very abstracted, but one could imagine there's probably some sort of purges or something, or
putting in
education.
Coca-Cola and McDonald's everywhere, and then you just all become Americans.
We take over their territory through the clever use of flags.
There you go. Mm-hmm. I like it.
So, and that's it. But on the other hand, if we grabbed huge swaths of Tartar land, then it becomes possible that they might become part of our accepted culture. Or at least a tolerated culture. Little things like that. Now, these are fairly, higher end things that you don't really have to worry about getting started. What do you have to worry about getting started?
Yes.
Well, these little flags here.
Can I interrupt once? Just a question. What is the main difference between Crusader Kings and this game?
You know what? I keep meaning to make a video that's literally just titled that. Because people ask me that all the time in the comments. Crusader Kings 2 has become a very, very popular, huge breakout hit for Paradox. So most people know the games from the point of view of Crusader Kings.
Yes.
Crusader Kings is about people, individuals. And the feudal
murdering
system.
Wives, marrying off,
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Perfectly that.
Yeah.
And it's about individuals and families and dynasties and the feudal system, where the individuals are what's important. Their specific bloodlines, their specific claims, all that sort of thing.
Okay.
And is mostly based around the idea of gaining and losing titles and that. EU4 quite literally, zooms out to a level.
Okay.
People become far less important. In fact, individuals play a very small role in this. There's a tiny bit of stuff with your ruler, but it's very insignificant. It's more about nations at this point. Because we've moved past the height of the feudal system and are moving into more of a rise of sort of nationalism.
Okay.
People identify themselves as being part of a nation more than anything else. And then thematically, there's a lot of religious stuff that happens in here, especially if you're playing Catholic nations because you get the Protestantism.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of colonialism that happens, especially if you're in Western Europe. And the rest of the world, the experience is a little bit different. But that's it. You're playing these sort on the nation level. Okay. You have to work a little less hard to fabricate these sort of claims and things for title. And the peace deals can be quite a bit more convoluted, and in a way that I really like a lot. So,
convoluted. Okay.
These little flags here alert you whenever there's something important. And if you do nothing else in the game but sort of respond to these flags, you can actually get quite a lot of gameplay out of that.
Okay.
So, let's start from the left. You have free advisor slots right now.
Okay.
Or open advisor slots. They're not free as in free of cost, but they are open.
Right.
So you can have 3 different types of advisors: an administrative, diplomatic, and military advisor. And you're going to see these 3 categories come up time and time again. There's going to be these things called PowerPoints, there's going to be technologies, there's going to be idea groups, and always divided into these 3 categories. And so administrative stuff is mostly like bureaucratic-y kind of things.
Right.
Diplomatic stuff is both like actual diplomacy and relations with other nations, but also trade and colonization falls under that category. Okay. And military stuff is stabbing people.
Got that one. Okay. Right. Cool.
So, we have a certain amount of money in our top bar. Currently, we have 190 gold in our treasury, which is quite a lot. So we can hire some people. Now, ideally, you always have each of these slots filled because they give you a pretty decent bonus. Right now, we are generating 3 power points for administrative, diplomatic, and military every month.
Okay.
The reason that is, everyone always has a base of 3. Then you add in the stats of your king. This is the kind of the only time your king matters in any way whatsoever, or your ruler, I should say. And then, in addition, we actually have a -1 to everything because we're nomads.
Oh, okay.
So that's why we end up... So it's a base of 3 plus 1 for our king, -1 because we're nomads. And it just so happens our king is 111, which is terrible.
Okay.
Now, not as bad as Henry VI, which is what England starts with. He's a 0 across the board, literally, and it's really bad. But overall, this isn't bad. This isn't great. Actually, our heir is in terrible shape as well, so that's really, really unfortunate. So, hiring an advisor, even a level 1. See, the level 1 advisors here give us +1 to their associated skill.
Right.
This is going to increase our output by 33%. It's a huge deal.
It's a jump.
The level 1 guys are really cheap. We have 190 gold, and we're only making 1.6 per month right now. These guys will cost us 16 to hire and will cost us 1 per month. So we're going to go into the negatives, but that's pretty normal at this point of the game. Certainly a good idea to get 1 of each. Now, as you go up in these, this is a level 2, this is a level 3, you can see the price goes up dramatically, especially the monthly cost.
No kidding.
So I'm still experimenting with what the right, commitment to these guys are. Certainly, I like, at the very least, I have a level 1 everywhere, unless you're playing a microscopic nation with no economy whatsoever. And I think that's probably what we'll do. In fact, this guy will boost our missionaries, so we're going to be better at converting over people to the one true faith.
There you go. Okay.
So, I'm not, sometimes, and we'll see here. Oh, we got a 1, 2, and 3. What about in the military? See, here, they're all level 1 guys.
Ah, okay.
Now, everyone has an ability associated to them. So, they give you +1 to your power point every month. Mm-hmm. And they also have some sort of unique ability that they give you. The ability is not at all connected to the level. So whether this guy's a level 1 guy or a level 3 guy, this Grand Captain will always just give you +0.3 to your army morale. Okay. So you can kind of mix and match what level you want versus what bonus you want. It's kind of interesting to sort of pick and choose that way. Again, here, none of these are really going to make you or break you in any respect. Discipline basically makes your army do more damage. Morale makes them stick around and fight longer and fight more effectively. And the force limit, we'll talk about that later, but as a Khanate, you have like 100% bonus to your force limit already, so I'm less interested in this one. Okay. I think, maybe morale.
Okay.
Arbitrarily. And we didn't pick our diplomatic guy. Again, we'll probably just take the cheapest guy here. It improves our diplomatic reputation, because that's important as a horde. I mean, you want people to think the best of you.
Of course.
When you're just, coming at them with pointy things and saying, pay us or else.
Of course, yeah.
All right, so we're now losing money. You can see a little minus there.
Oh, God.
So while we've got the screen open, you can open this with the shield over here, and this is where you do most of your government management. Okay. This is your actual government, so your government type, your leader, what your culture group is, any modifiers affecting your country, your specific advisors, and they'll kick the bucket from time to time. And this. And unlike Crusader Kings, you don't just deploy these advisors anywhere. These literally, they sit in your office with you kind of thing. There are other people you can deploy to places, though. Diplomacy. So here's us, right? Timurids, we're a Khanate. Again, our leader and some of our stats. But we get a list of all the nations in the game, at least the ones we're aware of.
Oh, my goodness.
Actually, apparently even ones we're not aware of, so that's kind of interesting. Generally, I don't find people in this list. Instead, I sort of, click on my actual neighbors and find them there. We'll look at that. Okay. And we'll look more at the diplomacy screen later on. Economy screen, we make money from taxes. We make money from producing things. So if we click on a province here, this province produces cloth. Okay. And this one produces spices. Very nice. And some wool. And so, the actual good, not terribly important. Some of them are much more valuable than others, and you can sort of keep that in mind maybe when doing some conquests, but in practice, I don't know how critical it is to pay attention to that. But that factors into your production money. And then there's trade, which is very interesting. Now, the hordes, I don't think are going to make a ton of money at trade, at least not early on. But we can switch to the trade map mode. If I can zoom out here, well, actually, you can't really see very well. Oh, but these are little trade nodes. And then, you can see the trade route. So this actually represents kind of like that Silk Road, I think.
Silk Road,
is sort of what this is, if I'm remembering kind of correctly. But if you're playing as someone, and you can't see them right now, but if you're playing as Portugal, at first, a lot of that trade comes through there, and then comes through the little the bay here by Alexandria, a lot of trade comes up this way at first. But later on, as Portugal, for example, you can discover the route around Africa, set up a few colonies to extend your trade zone, your trade range. I mean, it's not like the people living there were using the space for anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you should go there, set up some colonies and some docks, and you extend your ship range, and then you can actually direct a lot of the trade around there, which is actually going to be bad for us, because we're going to lose out on that. If I zoom in here, you can see that some of these trade nodes. So we are obviously, so Timurids here, we are both in the Persia trade node and a little bit in the Samarkand trade node and actually a little bit in the Indus as well, which is kind of interesting. Now, do we have any merchants at all? We do. So we are currently in the Persia trade node because our capital, which is...
Yes. How do we find our capital?
Somewhere. I know there's a quick and easy way to find it, but I always just look for the symbol on the map, and I'm actually just not...
We have no capital. We're nomads? Is that with there?
Oh! Yes, thank you. I could not... Yeah. There's a tiny little crown pointer in there.
I just saw the shield, but I guess they've all got a shield. I just got lucky.
Yeah, this is actually a military unit.
They all have shields.
There's got to be a way to list... Anyway.
Okay.
Anyway, thank you for spotting that.
Yeah, talent.
This is kind of interesting. We're in the Persia trade node.
Okay, I can see it now. What's interesting?
Well, because there's something in the game where... Collect from trade. Huh. I'm trying to figure out the best way to explain it. So in the trade nodes, you can send a merchant to a trade node, and the merchant can do two things. One, he can try to suck out money from the trade node, or he can try to send the trade forward. So right now, we have a merchant in both the Samarkand and the Persia trade nodes, and they're both just trying to extract as much money as possible.
Okay.
So they're trying to make money. But for example, we could send a merchant to the... None of these are oh, well, actually, this is a decent one. At the Kashmir trade node. Because there's two outputs. You see, trade can leave Kashmir either to Samarkand or it can go down to Indus.
Oh,
so
we want to send it our way.
Exactly. Now, right now, we only have two merchants, and collecting trade is a good idea. But there's weird rules, I think, about where it's appropriate for you to actually collect trade or not. And it seems that we're in fine shape to extract trade from both of these. So anyway, let's not talk about it too much. You can mostly forget about the trade. Unless you're playing a trade-oriented nation and you decide to go that way, trade more or less takes care of itself. Your merchants are put in reasonable locations at the beginning of the game, and they can stay there for the entirety of the game.
Okay.
Unless we lose all control over our territory in the Persia trade node, it's fine. Now, it's important to note, this node is sitting over this province. There's nothing in this particular province that makes it special. This trade just happens to be in the center of this blob. It's everywhere where it says Persia and it's this color. All these provinces are part of this trade node, and this is just where they decided to put this rectangle.
Okay.
Where it's physically located makes no difference whatsoever.
Okay.
Okay. Just like here, this trade node happens to be, it's the Samarkand trade node, and the identifier is over the province of Samarkand. But it means nothing.
Okay.
Just sort of historically, it might have been a good name. Sometimes that province happens to have more trade power, but that's not a big deal. The more land you own in a trade node, the more money you make from trade. Or the more power, the more trade power you have in that node. Anyway, let's move on. Trade, not important at this point.
No, it's good.
There was a page for it, and trade I think is very interesting, but it's not going to be a huge deal for us. Our technology page. So I said you earn those power points.
Yeah.
And this is how many points we have stored right now, and we're making 4 per month at this time because we hired our people. So once we collect a certain amount of power points, we will be able to unlock a new tech. And it's not, you don't pick and choose necessarily. It's like when you have when we have 875 administrative power, we'll be able to unlock the next level of administrative tech.
Wow, 800 and some?
Well,
and we're making 4 a month?
Part of the problem is that we're in the Nomad group. Teching is not going to be our thing. I will say, teching up to the 4th level, so right now we're at tech level 3, getting the 4th level administrative tech is very, very nice because you unlock something called idea groups, which we're going to talk about in a minute. It's very nice to have that unlocked. Secondly, when you get to tech level 5 in administrative tech, you can build temples and constables, which will dramatically increase the amount of money that you make.
Nice. I mean, at this rate, we're going to have a hard time keeping shoes and bits on our horses.
Oh yeah, no, it's going to be interesting. Diplomatic technology is mostly naval stuff, trade, colonization. This is not going to be a high priority for us. Okay. Military tech is stabbing people with pointy things. We're going to like that.
We
as much
need
as
that
possible.
one.
National ideas. So there's 2 things. There's under this idea category, there's this national idea, which is a particularly a thing that's unique to the Timurids.
Okay.
So we have some static bonuses that are always there, and there's other things that we'll unlock as we continue forward in the game. Then when we reach administrative tech level 4, right, which is national ideas here, right, we will unlock the ability to choose an idea group. And we can click here and we will be able to pick one of these in one of these categories.
Holy
and that's
cow.
where you really sort of specialize your nation. By picking one of these ideas. Now, picking the idea by itself doesn't do anything for you. You have to spend power points of either administrative, diplomatic, or military to level these things up. And that's where you, then when you have to pick and choose, because it costs, I believe, 400 power points to unlock one of these levels, and then you 400, 400, 400, and that means you're not teching or doing other things.
God, holy cow.
We're going to come back to the missions and decisions in a second. Stability and expansion. So stability is a big important thing. Right now we're at 0, which is neutral technically, but ideally you want to be as stable as possible. Right. You make more tax money, you get more manpower reinforcements, less rebellions. So that, again, costs administrative power to improve. We just push this button. When we need 147 right now, and we have to push this button, and then we get to +1 stability. Now, mousing over this, you can see part of the reason the cost is higher, because normally it's about 100 is the base. It costs us an extra 47 power points to do this because we have poor religious unity.
Oh my! So these PowerPoints get spent on things like stability, on leveling technologies, on then picking these specializations and then leveling each of those as well.
Yes.
These PowerPoints are really important.
They are, and this is something that's new with Europa Universalis 4, and I like it. It's really difficult and interesting decisions that they force. And I really like the basis. Our religious screen, we don't really have to deal with much right here, but it does remind you what your religion is, what our current piety level is, and what the bonuses are. We can send a missionary from this screen, and you know what? The fact that our religious unity is only 52% is hurting us. So let's start converting people.
Right away.
This we can sort based on the time it'll take to convert people, which is based on a variety of different factors.
Okay.
So we'll send a missionary over there and start getting that converted, which actually increased the revolt chance in Yazd.
Oops.
Because the forcible, conversion. But,
my God.
That's okay. You got to do what you got to do. And our military screen over here. Most of this you don't have to worry about terribly much. It does sort of describe the general stats that we've got. So our infantry, our eastern archers, and our cavalry, our eastern steppe cavalry. Not a huge deal. We can't see the number. We've got 35 infantry, 13 cavalry. These are regiments of 1,000 men each. So we have 48,000 men currently active in actual armies wandering around. Down here we've got that force limit, which we mentioned a few times.
Yes.
Our current force limit is 65. If we were to go over 65 total land units, our maintenance costs would skyrocket quite rapidly.
Oh.
You can. It's viable, but it's kind of dicey. Usually I like to get at the limit and stay there. I'm not saying that's the best way to play. That's just what I do.
Okay.
Let me tell you, plenty of problems.
So what does that actually mean, force limit?
So that is the literal number of regiments you can have running around. So we said we have currently 48,000 regiments, right?
So that's saying we can go, as long as we stay at that limit or under, you're just trying to get the maximum amount of army for a cost that's not ridiculous.
Exactly. Okay. So if we look at our economy screen, we are paying an army maintenance of 15 gold per month right now. When we got to 65, it would be higher, but not game-breaking higher.
Okay.
But going to 66 and 67 and 68 would rapidly increase the cost. The same thing exists for Navy. We're not really going to be much of a naval power.
Doesn't look like it.
Our force limit is 6 right now, and it's mostly based on things like, you know, how much coastline you have, different things like that. Whereas if you're playing as England or Portugal or Castile, Navy is a big part of what you do. Venice, another one as well. Everything else, I wouldn't be too concerned with this screen at this time. Now, I said before, these little flags kind of coach you on what to do next. Revolt's possible. All right. Get to know. All right. There's a 5% chance, I think, per year that there's going to be a rebellion in Yazd.
Ooh.
Some countries have disputed succession. They have lack of heirs with decent claims. One of the very viable ways to expand, just like in Crusader Kings, is to just get the right royal marriages set up.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Now, you know, there's limits to what you can do and manipulate and things like that. You know, to me, that's not the horde way, but it's possible. This next one is interesting. No mission selected. So if we click here, it'll bring to that tab that I ignored earlier.
Right.
Now, this tab has 2 very cool things. One is a mission. You can pick one of these. These are optional. They give you small rewards for doing something that, generally speaking, you kind of want to do already.
Okay.
Spread our cultured assistance. So we have some province. If I hit, there's a find button here, find province.
Okay.
I usually just hit F. Okay. So I'm like, okay, where is this? You click. Oh, okay, here. So there's the wrong culture here. Yeah, they're Baluchi. Mm-hmm. So it's not our culture. So there's, you know, we might want to convert these guys because it'll help increase the taxes, reduce revolt risk, that sort of thing. Plus, if we do that, they'll reward us with 10 diplomatic power.
Oh, okay. Power. Those power points.
Yes, very good.
I was going, how do we get power points?
Now, the problem is it's going to cost us 50 diplomatic power to flip the culture.
Of course.
But you get some of it back by doing the mission, so it's almost
Right.
discounting it.
Okay.
Improve relations with Delhi. So if we get their opinion of us to 100, we'll be rewarded with 3 prestige.
Okay.
And then also, alternatively, would be the Conquest of Delhi mission, which we'd have to claim. There's 5 provinces it would want us to claim. If we did it, it would reward us with 25 prestige and 400 administrative power.
Sweetness.
Also, what's nice about this, you know from playing Crusader Kings that getting a casus belli is really important. The cause for war.
Yes.
You need some justification to go to war. Now, in EU4, you don't need it strictly. You could, depending, I don't know if we've got no, apparently. Oh, we're a horde. We've got this show superiority CB with, like, everyone, I think. Tribal feud with other hordes. Okay, so this is a bad example. We could still click. We could declare no CB. And we could still choose it. And the penalty to doing this is we would lose stability. Our people don't like it when we go to war for no reason.
For no reason.
It doesn't have to be a good reason. We just have to have a reason. So one of the bonuses of doing the missions is it actually gives us an extra casus belli usually. Some sort of claim on provinces or something. So these are actually very handy that way. And frankly,
I would say let's go get Delhi.
Totally. Now the other thing,
they're right there. They're saying
they're right next door.
Yeah.
They've got problems with rebellions already. You know what? They're not managing themselves very well. Let's just conquer them. It's fine. Then we've got decisions.
They have
Decisions.
good food.
They do.
Yeah.
I love Delhi food.
Yeah.
Like, you know, wait. Hold on. Like cold cuts, right? So the other thing we've got are decisions. Now, these are things you can decide to enact, but only when certain circumstances are met. For example, the big one for us would be to form the Mughal Empire, which we would have to own several key provinces. Ro, Punjab, Sindh, Upper Doab, Doab, I don't know, Central Doab. And then also have cores on there. We haven't talked about cores yet, but we will soon enough. So if we own all of those things, then we can form the Mughal Empire. It would actually change the name of our nation from Timurids to the Mughals.
Yeah.
That would give us claims on all of India.
Ooh.
Give us some prestige, change our government type. We would no longer be a khanate. We'd no longer be a horde. We'd be a monarchy.
Ooh.
Yeah. Change our units, and would change our tech group to Muslim, which is definitely better than the Horde tech group.
No kidding.
Not as good as the Eastern or Western, but definitely a huge improvement over what we've got right now. And we change our traditions and ambitions and all kinds of things. So very game-changing, actually.
Wow, no kidding.
The other big ones are to unify Islam, which would literally be to convert everything to, not everything, but a whole lot of stuff to... or it's less about conversion and more about taking over all of Islam under a single banner is more what it is.
Okay.
Reform the government is an option to... flip to a monarchy. and to Muslim as our tech group, as opposed to the Hordes. So we get that for free with the Mughal Empire.
Right. Okay.
And then there's a few others. These are mostly generic that can be triggered by, you know, a little bit of power and right tech level. Then you can unlock this and get 5% more tax rate out of things.
Okay.
You don't, except for the big ones, which you set for gold, you don't pay attention to these lesser ones. You just get a pop-up that says, hey, you can enact a decision. And almost always you're going to go for them.
Oh, okay.
Because they're usually beneficial. But sometimes, you know, it's whatever. At some point, we're going to have to pause this game.
Yes, this is true. We're going to be talking away here.
All right, so we have some money. We have some troops. We've got valid CB on Delhi. Delhi has... So I click on Delhi here. Okay, this is the country now. I'm clicking on individual provinces. Punjab, Sirhind. Oh, these are all the things that I need to...
yeah, that was all part of that list.
Holy crap. If we take all 5 of these, then that's what we need for the empire? Oh, that's very cool. So you can click on these provinces, and also you can click on their flag here, or their crest, and this is their nation on the diplomacy screen.
Right, okay.
So we can see a few things. They've got a truce with Malwa. They have a vassal, Bangladesh. Right here is that one of their vassals, so it means we'll have to fight them as well. And they have a conquest, a reconquest CB on Multan. So right over here, they could declare war on Multan legitimately. They have no alliances though, which is very interesting. If we find someone else... Oh, actually, not many people have alliances at the start of the game. That's the issue. We might have to come back to it. But alliances will be like 2 crossed flags type of things.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see any. And you want to be careful, because when you declare war on someone, if they happen to be... I mean, this could be like World War I situation.
Yes.
And this has happened to me, right? Where I've, declared war on some little person that would have been trivial, and he was allied to some other trivial person, who was allied to Sweden, who was allied to France, who was, and all of a sudden it's like this incredible explosion of this cascade.
Do you get to see all these connections before you declare war?
Well, you sort of have to kind of click through and see what all these links are. Now, people don't always call in their allies, and allies don't always accept.
Yes.
The other big one is a religious thing. People can become a defender of a faith. Right here, costs money. There's prestige things and whatever, and it's quite nice to be the defender of the faith. But it also means if I'm going to go to war against a Catholic nation, and Spain is the defender of the faith, they will probably jump into the war.
Yes.
All right.
Oh my goodness, this is awesome.
So other than that, I haven't explained the basic controls. Middle mouse button to scroll around. Wow. Hopefully people will figure that out. Gosh, I hope. We're going to move our troops to the Delhi front over here. So I can just, select one. I can right-click to move them, and they will get their butts over there. So what I will do is, I'll actually put a cut in the video at this point. And what we'll do is...
And let them wander over.
Yeah, we'll unpause. So this one, maybe I'll call this one part 0. Which is generally what I do. And then part 1 will actually start the gameplay. See you next time, folks.